What's up guys, Sean here, and today we're going to talk about Cenk Uygur lying about Tucker Carlson. Alright, so I've done my fair share of Young Turks videos on this channel. I know a lot of people in my audience enjoy when I do takedown pieces of the Young Turks, but this one's going to be a little bit different. This one I'm going to make specifically for people on the left and people who are fans of the Young Turks, so you can kind of see where the other side is coming from. Now, one of the points that you'll hear from conservatives and libertarians over and over again is that people on the left that call themselves progressives are too quick to call people racist without evidence. And this happens so often and so frequently that it's no longer a matter of people on the left making a mistake. It's basically a tactic. In terms of public discourse, one of the worst things that you can be called is a racist, and the left knows how powerful that accusation is, and that's why they throw it around, because it's a tactic to shut down people they oppose politically. So we're going to talk about this video in particular, where Cenk Uygur calls Tucker Carlson a white supremacist, and I'm going to demonstrate to you that Cenk has no evidence to make this accusation, and this is just a smear piece on Tucker Carlson. Now, without further ado, let's get right into the video.
Mark Steyn is a right-winger. He goes on Fox News all the time. Likes to go on Tucker Carlson's program, which has become a hub, a base, a camp, if you will, perhaps an Al-Qaeda of white supremacy.
Whoa. Tucker Carlson's show is an Al-Qaeda-like base of white supremacy. That's an extraordinary claim, Cenk. But I assume that for this extraordinary claim, you're going to have to provide some extraordinary evidence.
Now, I think the word white supremacy is a little overused. I've talked about that on the show before. In this case, it is not. It is literal.
Oh, hold on, guys. Cenk Uygur thinks that the term white supremacy is thrown around way too often. But in this case, it's definitely literal. He's not going to take anything out of context to demonstrate that point. He's not going to extrapolate upon something really minute. He's going to show you, for realsies, that the Tucker Carlson show is a base, a literal encampment of white supremacy. That is what we're going to see. We're not going to see any weak evidence. It's going to be strong and powerful evidence. TYT strong, right? Right?
So let me show you what Mark Steyn said and then explain the context. Let's watch.
There was a French novel published 45 years ago by Jean Raspail, The Camp of the Saints. A lot of people on the left don't like it, but it actually predicted what's happening before our eyes.
So he's saying that The Camp of the Saints is a good book that predicted what's happening, but the left doesn't like it.
Okay, so that's clearly an extremely short clip that Cenk Uygur showed. I'm going to give you a little bit more context. I'm going to show you an extended clip, and I'm going to change the color from what Cenk Uygur showed to what actually was happening, the stuff that he left out, so you can get a sense of the context of the conversation.
That we're the problem. As one of our guests earlier told us, as Jim Scudo or whatever his name is on CNN told us, we're the problem, actually. These are the virtuous ones trying to get in. We're the impediment to their progress. Shut up, America, and obey.
And you know, he probably doesn't know it. There was a French novel published 45 years ago by Jean Raspail, The Camp of the Saints. A lot of people on the left don't like it, but it actually predicted what's happening before our eyes. A bunch of people got in a ship at India and sailed for the south of France in this novel, and all the media commented, like the CNN guy you just quoted, what's the big deal about this? We are the ones, we are the sinful ones. We are the ones with the stain of all the wicked isms on our past. Imperialism, colonialism, racism. These people are the virtuous ones. Let them in and they will redeem us.
Do you ever get the impression you've been softened up for this exact moment, that people have been telling you to shut up and obey and that you have no moral standing and you're not allowed to give your opinion? Basically, so we get to the moment where you can just be told to step aside and let people come in your place.
Whoa, wait a minute. He just mentioned the book, and he didn't say it was good, by the way, in that clip. He just said that the book was predictive of some of the things that were happening in the future and that the left doesn't like it. You can infer that maybe Tucker Carlson's guest does like the book. Maybe he thinks the book is a good novel. Now I'm going to assert that a more fair reading of what went on in this clip is that Tucker Carlson had his guest reference a book that he probably never heard of, considering it's a French novel from the 70s. And the guy said that this novel was very predictive of what was happening, and Tucker Carlson nodded along. Like, nowhere in this video did Tucker say, oh, I read that book and you're 100% right about that book. I love it. It's my favorite book. It's on the Tucker Carlson Book of the Month Club. Like, nowhere does he say that. But Cenk is going to extrapolate from Mark Steyn mentioning this book and Tucker Carlson barely reacting to it, probably due to the fact that he's never heard of this book before. And he's going to somehow use that to imply that Tucker Carlson is a white supremacist.
Before our eyes.
So he's saying that The Camp of the Saints is a good book that predicted what's happening, but the left doesn't like it, but it's real. All right, well, let's find out what The Camp of the Saints is. So Southern Poverty Law Center has read it. They say it is the favorite racist fantasy of the anti-immigrant movement in the US. Now, the job of the Southern Poverty Law Center is to track hate groups. They also explain that it is revered by American white supremacists. Now,
all right, so do you see what's happening right here? Cenk Uygur is saying white supremacists and racist hate groups enjoy this book. Therefore, Steyn is racist for mentioning it, which I'll put that in the maybe category. And Tucker Carlson is racist and a white supremacist for hearing Steyn reference the book. Sounds a little flimsy to me. I don't know. You guys tell me in the comments.
Carlson is, and they talk about this all the time. Steve Bannon talks about Camp of the Saints nonstop. And so since they are racist, they go, no, Southern Poverty Law Center tracking racists, it doesn't count. Well, okay, then let's go to Linda Chavez. Now, Linda Chavez worked for Ronald Reagan in his cabinet and George W. Bush in his cabinet. She's a revered, significant right-winger. She said that the book is really shockingly racist.
Okay, so for those of you who aren't following this train of logic that Cenk is taking us on, he went from showing a clip of Tucker Carlson where one guy who was a guest mentioned a book and how some of the things in the book are coming true. And now he's trying to prove that book is racist so that he can not only prove that the person who mentioned the book is racist, but so he can prove that Tucker Carlson, who heard somebody with his ears mention a book, is also racist.
Okay, fine, you don't even want to trust any other Republicans or right-wingers. Let's go to the book itself. On the cover of the book, in the English translation, it explains that it is, quote, a chilling novel about the end of the white world. Now that's on the cover of the book.
You see, that's pretty racist right there. The cover of the book says the end of the white world on it. Like, that's obviously a dog whistle.
Put away the dog whistle. They're now just flat out saying it.
A dog whistle that humans can hear. That's a really loud dog whistle. They're not even hiding it anymore. It's white supremacy right on Fox News. Now, to be 100% fair to Cenk, I actually looked into this claim, and on the English translation of this book, right on the cover, it does say the end of the white world. Well, actually, that's not really 100% true. You see, the book was originally published in the 70s and then translated over to English, and it's been in and out of print. So, while there is a cover of this book that says the end of the white world on the front cover, it turns out there's actually multiple covers of this book because it's been in and out of print for so long, and only one of those covers actually features the phrase that Cenk is talking about. So it is entirely possible that Steyn would have read this book that didn't have that phrase right on the front cover. Now look, I'm not going to defend this book. If Cenk Uygur and all these leftist organizations say this book is racist, for the purposes of this video, I'm not going to contest that claim. I have not read the book, I don't speak French, I can't read French, I haven't read the English translation, I never heard of this book until I did this video. So I have no reason to defend this book, I have no ties to this book, and I don't want to defend it, because that's not the point of this video, whether or not the book is racist. What Cenk is doing is he's taking a comment made by a guest on the Tucker Carlson show. That person who was on the show referenced a book. Now he's trying to condemn Tucker Carlson by proxy by proving the book is racist. And the purpose of this video is to point out how nonsensical that tactic is. But he wraps up his point by taking yet another clip of Mark Steyn completely out of context.
And in case it wasn't clear enough, here's Mark Steyn on the same Tucker Carlson show back in January. Listen to what he says.
The white supremacists are American citizens. The illegal immigrants are people who shouldn't be here.
Let's also note for the record that Mark Steyn is an immigrant from Canada. All right, well, it is absolutely clear. Tucker Carlson heard that comment in January. Very happy to have him back on the program, where he then lauds The Camp of the Saints, a deeply racist book, proud to be racist. Breitbart has written many articles praising Camp of the Saints. So all these right-wing guys, these alt-right, the Mark Steyns, the Steve Bannons, the Tucker Carlsons, they are put away the dog whistle. They're now just flat out saying it.
So Mark Steyn says that white supremacists are American citizens and illegal immigrants shouldn't be here. And Cenk says that that is a dog whistle. It's not even a dog whistle. It's a human hearable whistle of white supremacy. But if you actually watch the whole clip, what you learn is that Mark Steyn isn't saying that he likes white supremacists or that he's happy that white supremacists are in the country. What he's saying is that white supremacists are people who have American citizenship, and that's a problem that Americans have to deal with. Conversely, people who come into America illegally are not American citizens, and those are people that we choose to deal with our public policy.
What's interesting is that both he and Nancy Pelosi and others on that side of the aisle are getting ever more explicit in their preference for illegal immigrants, so-called, as he would say, over American citizens. He said, Chris Cuomo went on to say that the real problem is white supremacists in America. They're the real monsters, not these nice, hard-working illegal immigrants. And that may be well and true. I mean, for the purposes of argument, let's just say he's right. It's irrelevant. The white supremacists are American citizens. The illegal immigrants are people who shouldn't be here. And the organizing principle of nation states is that they're organized on behalf of their citizens, whether their citizens are cheerleaders or white supremacists or whatever. You're stuck with them.
Nowhere in this video is Mark Steyn saying that he likes or enjoys having white supremacists in the country. What he's saying is that since they're American citizens, they're a problem that we have to deal with, and we can't solve that problem by deporting them.
Breitbart has written many articles praising Camp of the Saints. So all these right-wing guys, these alt-right, the Mark Steyns, the Steve Bannons, the Tucker Carlsons, they are put away the dog whistle. They're now just flat out saying it.
So Cenk wraps the video up by saying that Steyn is a white supremacist, then he throws Steve Bannon like he's relevant for some reason, and then he says Tucker Carlson's a white supremacist. And as I showed you with the first clip in the beginning of the video, Tucker Carlson didn't look like he even knew what he was talking about. It was just a guest on his show referencing an obscure French novel and saying that it's been predictive of what's happened in the United States and the Western world. And Tucker Carlson essentially silently nodded along to that because chances are he had no freaking clue what this book was about. But Cenk Uygur, the Young Turks, and the left-wing media just cut that tiny little clip, removed it from all context, and then start telling you about the book and how the book is racist, and somehow retroactively apply that to Tucker Carlson and do kind of like a poor man's guilt by association. Then, because misrepresenting people is what the left wing does, Cenk Uygur takes a clip of Mark Steyn on the Tucker Carlson show from January, hacks that clip up, removes it from all context, and uses that as evidence. So if you're on the left and you consider yourself a Young Turks viewer, you consider yourself a progressive, do you think this is fair to do to somebody? Do you think that this guilt by association proves Cenk's point? Or does it prove the point that conservatives and libertarians have been saying about the left for years? That calling somebody a racist is a tactic to silence them. It's not about actually proving somebody's a racist. It's not about fighting racism. I don't care if you like Cenk, dislike Tucker Carlson, hate Mark Steyn, love the Young Turks, or whatever. If you're looking at this honestly, there is no other conclusion that you can come to than Cenk Uygur is taking these people out of context. The left-wing media has nothing on Tucker Carlson. They're just attacking him because he now does a show that they really can't stand, where he brings leftists on the air and he essentially makes fun of them. He makes his little dumbfounded face, and honestly, it's the best iteration of Tucker Carlson that he's ever had in his entire life. The left can't stand the fact that they're being made fun of. They can't stand the fact that Tucker Carlson has found his voice. And they're attacking him and calling him a white supremacist. And the clips in these videos do not demonstrate that at all. There's no way. Look at it honestly. I'm being serious. There's no way that you could say Tucker Carlson is a white supremacist based on the clips that I've shown you.
Let's also note for the record that Mark Steyn is an immigrant from Canada.
Of course, Cenk is like gonna try and one-up Mark Steyn by saying, you're a Canadian immigrant. Why do you want to talk about immigration policy? Now, of course, in the original video that Cenk butchered, that he hacked up and took out of context to portray these people as white supremacists, if you actually watch that clip through, Steyn mentions that he's actually a legal immigrant, and he talks about how the left likes to change the language and blur the lines between illegal and legal immigrant.
I think that's largely what it is, in fact. And that's why I always pay great attention to the left's assault on language. Someone just said, you know, those of us who oppose this are anti-immigrant. Actually, no, I'm an immigrant. Yeah. It's a rather boring thing to be because it involves going to government offices and filling in paperwork. But the left has appropriated that term, so it now effectively means an army of people who don't bother with paperwork, who...
So Steyn is clearly talking about illegal immigrants, but Cenk brings up the fact that he's an immigrant because the left and people like Cenk Uygur and the Young Turks don't see the difference, or they don't want you to see the difference between immigrants that come here legally and illegally. Because if you see that difference, you might be more inclined to be on the side of somebody like Tucker Carlson or Mark Steyn. So unbeknownst to Cenk, he just confirmed a key point in Mark Steyn's argument. Anyway, that's all I really have for you guys today. Let me know what you think about this situation in the comments. Do you think I'm being too fair to Tucker Carlson and Mark Steyn? Do you think I'm being unfair to Cenk Uygur? I think I'm giving a fair reading. I'm providing more context than Cenk provided. But I want to know what you guys think in the comments below. I want to give a special thank you to my Patreon supporters, Pepe Loves Trump, Louis Cool Dance, Mike Barbarossa, Michael, Tina, Apollo Legend, and Chelsea. If you like this video, you guys know what to do. Subscribe, all that nonsense. Till next time.